kind of new, I think that's where you would see some serious civil unrest.
Well, I think this time around, actually, I mean, we already went through it. We feel like we're like, hey, there were enough anomalies. Get rid of all of the other things. Get rid of all the different cases that were heard that most were thrown out because they didn't have the right standing to bring the case in the first place. Get rid of all of that, and we're like, yeah, but Pennsylvania changed their laws illegally according to their own constitution. Like, they can't do that.
Right.
There was some reporting about votes in different states right now where, like, actually there were this many illegal votes in this state and this many in this state and this.
And later on.
Now know enough to go, all of those concerns were well-founded.
Right.
The conspiracy theories that you want to put out there, fine. Maybe some of those were true. Maybe some were not. We don't even need them, though, for this to be true.
Well, Pennsylvania goes back to what we were talking about earlier, because there were complaints filed. There were suits filed before saying, hey, hold on a second.
They took it to the Supreme Court.
This is going to create issues with votes. And basically, the ruling was, yeah, but it hasn't happened yet. So, there's do it. And then after it happened, they said, yeah, but this already happened now. So the election's done. It's a moot point.
We'll handle that. We'll handle it if a problem comes up. Well, it's too late because the problem came up.
Right.
Like, it doesn't make any sense. And that's what we were, like, pounding our fists on the table at that time. Was like, you can't do that. That's why Texas and a bunch of other attorneys general actually got together and tried to sue and said, look, you're negating our vote by doing that.
Right.
By you changing your laws and rigging it, you're taking away from our ability to affect an election. And you're basically nullifying the vote of Texans or Michiganders or whoever else.
Yeah. Here's what I think. I think that if it's close, they will.
Yeah.
They'll pull some foul play. And I think if it's such a wide gap, I think they'll be...
Hey, new channel?
And then they'll try and fight it in the post-election and do like what they did last time and say Russian collusion. If it's too wide of a margin, if it's completely undeniable, it would be pretty hard. But I think if it's close, definitely some foul play will be seen.
And I think if it's Trump-Biden V2, like, I don't think there's... Nobody will stand for it at this point. If they put another candidate in, they at least have some plausible deniability. It's a different person. But if they have the most unpopular president, I think in the history of this country, gets more votes than any other president in the history of this country, again, while not being able to string a sentence together, we'll be like, okay, fool me once.
Yeah. And if it's Trump versus Biden, here's something I guarantee you will happen. They will keep Biden out of the public spotlight. They don't want people to see empty rallies, or they'll do them very, very sparingly, where it's like, okay, Donald Trump's doing 50. We're only going to do 3. And they will guarantee that they will canvass those venues. But you are not going to see Donald Trump on the campaign trail at his rallies and Joe Biden on the campaign trail. They'll probably say, I'm too busy. I'm too busy.
What's going on live in Illinois? What is that?
They do not want you to see that
thing.
It's because they're low on amphetamines.
Yes, exactly.
I know, right?
So was JFK. He loved his amphetamines. Discover another chat.
From Ray 1776. Question: which president do you think had the worst gate during their term?
Is invasion of Iraq a gate?
No, he's a gate.
False pretenses.
The WMD gate doesn't roll at the top.
No. Well, to be fair, that we're weapons of mass destruction discovered is not nuclear weapons. I mean, if you were to say, probably Bill Clinton. I mean, if you're just say something that was because of the lying and because of the perjury and because of the media cover-up. I'm not saying that it's the biggest thing that he was owned by an intern who tricked him.
What channel's that on? Is this about to go off while I get gas and coffee?
That one was pretty big because of how blatant the lie. Like, it was undeniable. It wasn't a matter of opinion. Outside of that,
what happened to the other channel?
What would you say is the worst?
For me, the worst one, but worse because it was such a lie, was rushing.
Yeah.
Because that was the.
Right, I'll be back in a second. We'll talk about it.
Kind of dogged him with it for 3 years. I mean,
Benghazi was pretty bad. Not just, and people remember Benghazi because Hillary Clinton didn't answer, didn't call in to help. The issue was that they blamed it on YouTube.
Yes.
So that to me is
from the very beginning.
They lied from the very beginning. I remember where I was when it happened, and I heard that these American soldiers were killed over a YouTube video. Like, at that point, I thought, oh no, and I was going to see my face on the. Right, it was a Quran challenge because at that point it was the most watched video critical of Islam on YouTube at all because no one did it. And then they showed this video with some person and a camel that had like 200 views. I'm like, well, that wouldn't result in this.
No.
So Benghazi is pretty damn bad, and it just built.
January 6th too, right? I mean, if President Trump ends up winning again, we're never gonna hear the end of it. I swear to God, I'm never gonna hear. You could make people watch it with their eyes open, Clockwork Orange style. Sit them down, force their eyes open, and watch the footage and they'll still go, that was the most deadliest day in American history. They had no weapons. They hurt nobody. Like,
so you mean the gate is the media lie?
Saying that Trump, started it. That he incited.
It was an insurrection that he incited.
That he led and incited an insurrection. But been taken off a ballot.
Yeah.
In multiple states, or tried to.
Well, yes. That's what I guess you're talking about media. But that one's really bad. And what really disappointed me about that is conservatives not standing in the pocket.
Yeah.
A lot of conservatives going like, well, I don't condone January 6th. I remember
That's the thing is they're afraid to be like, if you say it wasn't an insurrection. I mean, I felt this too. I've been afraid to be like, well, it's not an insurrection. People are like, well, you're a January 6th or MAGA boy. I'm like, no, I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not. I don't think that they should have freaking been there. Whatever. They should have been doing this. They should have been doing that, but they had a right to.
Yeah.
And it wasn't an insurrection.
The ones who were invited in absolutely should not have spent a day in jail.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
That's what I said. I go, no.
Why can't we do that? Why can't we differentiate the two? Why not have to be?
It has to be.
This,
it has to be what the media says. So this goes back to what we were talking about. It has to be in line with what the media has called this.
Yeah.
Which is the worst day for democracy in the history of our country.
Well, they'll just try and make it so toxic that even people who know it's not true won't want to touch it. I mean,
Exactly.
We've had those kinds of hit pieces
Because
go out here.
they've thrown it out so far and wide. If you come out and say, well, hold on, there's actually to talk about here. Nope. Apparently, you're one of those Jan 6er guys.
Yeah.
Right. You're somebody who wants to overthrow the government. And a couple others that the research team sent in for Obama.
It's also crazy. While we're talking about insurrection, it's also crazy to say it's the worst day in American history. It's the worst thing to happen in America when there was an event that resulted in states having north and south indicators forever.
Yes, exactly.
There's a West Virginia for a reason.
Yes.
There's no West Maryland now.
Yeah.
Like
it's true.
Yeah. It's Custer's last tour.
that's really
Would the Hunter Biden laptop cover up
that's
count as?
Well, we're talking about media. I'm talking about directly from an administration.
Oh,
right.
Gotcha.
Fast and Furious would be one.
Fast and Furious, the Gunwalker scandal was a really big one that a lot of people. I mean, we might want to sort of do a recap of that because some younger people may not even necessarily be familiar with it.
They had Acorn also in the IRS scandal, all under Obama. Those three, where they were targeting.
Yeah, the IRS targeting conservatives.
Yeah.
The Tea Party groups. Those were the lists they used to target. I mean, that happens all the time, though. It's just a matter of who they decide to prosecute. Right. Kind of like Watergate. I mean, what Obama did, it's undeniably far worse than Watergate, and it actually came straight from him. But I guess I'm just trying to think of what it is that sort of altered the fabric of American history and Bill Clinton, because it was such a blatant lie, and it happened on the record, and it was such a shift. It was like this tectonic shift in the foundation of media when Matt Drudge said, no, I'm actually going to cover this.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest component is what we talked about today, where so many people don't know that other media outlets knew about it and passed.
Yeah.
That's the only reason it became a story. That's why, to me, it's so important.
What about the Las Vegas shooting?
Yeah, we don't know anything. But again, we're talking about a gate in an administration.
Okay.
That's something we don't know anything. We don't know enough about, considering it was the deadliest shooting. Yes, but as far as a gate in an administration,
I think since then that's got to be, I would think, it, because it does destroy a little bit of your public trust.
Right.
In these instances, because the president of the United States came out and said no, and then had to walk it back and say no, I lied, and then was impeached.
Well, and the media was willing to destroy that woman's reputation too, Monica Lewinsky.
Oh yeah.
But let's be clear about this too. I mean, I know Monica Lewinsky is a leftist activist, but that was a young girl who thought she was in love with the president of the United States and thought that he loved her back. She was heartbroken, and her life was ruined. They labeled her a whore. Yeah.
I feel so bad for her.
Yeah, and by the way, she looks better today than back then. Monica Lewinsky, she's doing all right.
There's a chat from South Anarchist. Question for the crew. Do y'all think that the justice system is fixable, or should it be scrapped and start over?
Oh, you're not going to fix it by scrapping it.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah. Because
we probably need to get our lawyers in here to answer some of these, like some barely legals, like with Bill Richmond.
Lawyer chat.
Oh, good idea.
Yeah, we used to do that. Yeah, it's tough. I don't know. I'm not gonna lie and say I know how you fix it. I just know what I've seen, what I've experienced, and it definitely is broken. I would have concrete solutions, for example, with healthcare, like we've talked about, tort reform, or where you're talking about allowing insurance across state lines.
Yeah.
HSAs and encouraging them more. There are solutions and steps that you can take that would make significant differences. With the legal system, it's these baby steps. I think you need to get rid of no-fault divorce. Is a big one. And I think there need to be more situations where you have to pay your opponent's legal fees.
Yeah.
That's a big one, depending on what the case actually is.
Especially if you take someone to court.
Right.
They have no choice but to go.
Right. Yeah.
That's kind of messed up. I think that the justice system from global justice systems for all of history have been corrupt, messed up. I don't think there's a way you can quote unquote fix it. You can make things better.
Yeah, I think you have to.
But you can't.
But it's
going to be a corrupt thing forever.
Yeah, I know there's always going to be some element of corruption to it, but the problem that you have is that
a little bit of snow here, huh?
Like the judicial system, a lot of people, until you interact with the system, you think that the system works really well and that it's fair and that people go through a And then you interact with the system, and you're like, well, hold on, this is a completely.
Well, you should still be able to get that back. There's other ways. Hey, Midwest.
Sausage is made kind of situation. Same thing with like doctors.
You still should be able to get that back.
Somebody's a doctor and they give me an opinion. They know exactly what they're talking about. I'm not going to die because
I'm not saying that
hospital or a doctor.
You're not telling the truth. I'm just
COVID kind of disabused us of that notion.
Right.
We haven't had a legal situation until maybe Donald Trump's situation really disabused the masses of that notion that the justice system is fair.
Right.
So I think it takes something like that to go, okay, we need to have some kind of incremental improvement of this system, otherwise it will continue.
Johnny Depp was fair, and the reason it was a big one is because Amber Heard, she was writing these op-eds, right? And everyone
that was like a civil thing. This one,
yes, it was a civil thing, but it came on the heels of Me Too.
Yeah.
And so everyone thought, oh, what a monster. And by the way, I have never disliked an actor more than Johnny Depp before, and now that man is a saint.
Yeah.
Just so you know, I have a stained glass window, Johnny Depp. He went through, where everyone thought this guy's an animal, he's a monster. The media was really quick to jump on it. They were going to give her a leg up. She had all the right lawyers. They shook him down. And you had to have a guy like Johnny Depp who was willing to sacrifice everything. And even then, he sacrificed more in clearing his name financially than most people would ever be willing to bet. So that was a big one culturally.
Yeah.
And I think if you think about it, that's kind of what changed the
you know here,
where a lot of women were going, oh, I know some Amber Heards.
Yeah.
Sure, I know some monsters, but I probably know more Amber Heards. And so that was a big one. So it does require people who are willing to risk it, because it's very.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. I mean,
even going to just settle because you're going, this is what the system is like. So I think it's going to take a lot of individuals, and then that can change people's perceptions. And maybe if people's perceptions change, then judges.
I mean, there's other ways to verify even your login other than your phone number too.
I think the system definitely needs to change. Again, I'm not an expert on it, but I think this Donald Trump stuff can lay the groundwork for that.
I actually helped my son do that. He had a very similar thing happen to him.
From the government, instead of somebody suing you and trying to take money,
he went ahead and
you,
set up a whole other account as well.
But I think that can really do it more than anything else, because people look at these things and go, Mar-a-Lago, right? There are a lot of these. It just keeps adding up for him, so he has the opportunity, if he's right, in cases, to be able to do that. For people to go, we need a lot of reform, or at the very least, we just need to take the blinders off and go, this is what the system really is, and we need to make sure that we understand that it is an imperfect system. Right?
Yeah.
No, I think you're right. Let's grab one.
I have.
We gotta go.
All right, here's from
3 channels connected to
homeschooling your kids.
My main channel.
Other than basic math,
My
science,
computer EMS.
would
Actually, 4.
Well, obviously, basic math, science,
Doc Wick, and
teaching the basic skills, the foundational skills.
IES.
And then,
Doc Nation is attached to a completely different email, that just in case. That way, I can use it as a backup.
And to be fair, they don't really necessarily teach math. They don't teach literacy. Right. So once you really get past grade school, if these kids are literate, you know how to do basic math.
You gonna be on the road soon,
basic understanding
Midwest?
scientific method. And that's what a lot of high school. For me, I was doing advanced trigonometry in the 9th grade. When the hell am I going to use this? You're going to tell me that's not specialized? I never used it. It was just specialization in a realm that the Quebec public school system said I had to complete. So go through the basics, make sure they have a really good understanding of the basics. Certainly include history and civics in there. And then I would absolutely look at what they're interested in and support that. And of course, you need some activities beyond homeschooling.
Okay.
You know,
Yes.
Sports would be one that's great for particularly young men. Social activities where they interact with a lot of kids. The idea that you need to be in a public school to be socialized. It's like, well, you know what? Okay, homeschool kids, can they be weird? They're not claiming that they're a cat.
Back to you, Ma.
So, I mean,
I saw when I got up in the morning, I saw on the chat.
There's a little difference.
1,900 miles to Yuma.
Yeah, exactly. It's
Like,
for a kid who's a little too chatty with adults because he's hanging around.
a little bit too far.
This is adult.
I don't think he's got to go that far.
That's a bad, okay, you could do a better job with that. Now, this kid wants to chop his penis off and he's 8 years old.
Yeah, I saw that.
More poor socialization. So I think that's
Or went to
sort of
bed.
out the window. The idea that first off, homeschooling means kids will be properly socialized, especially.
He's got a broken out back light. At least the light itself is working.
Schooled more poorly.
Yeah.
And this idea that everything we do in school is necessary. Some of these are hyper specialized, and they're not necessary for everybody. I don't think that you will live an incomplete life as a young boy, for example, if gone through not only advanced trigonometry, but I was learning, for example, history, like advanced provincial history, as related to the parliamentary system in Quebec, and I never really learned American history or proper world history.
Yeah.
You're going to tell me that if I'm homeschooled and I learn here's a cursory glance at Canadian history, it's mostly pretty boring. Okay, no, basically they said yes, they kneeled for the king, and then there was one guy who had a bunch of dead people votes back a while. And there's nothing else very interesting. They burned down the White House because no one expects their friends to burn down their shit. So like that was a big win for us. Now let's move on to the history that matters: the United States of America, global history. I don't even think in school. I got to tell you, we barely touched on World War One.
Yeah.
I don't remember ever learning about World War One in school.
No, barely ever. Only time we were learning about World War One was in civics.
It's a lot easier to salvage all that stuff out through a browser than on a mobile device. So
Germany losing.
Right.
I mean, use the device to
rebuilding and then
to verify things, but
in detail about it. We just like
if you're able to get to a computer,
Germany
it's
lost,
a lot easier.
Their country sucked.
Right.
They were sad.
Library or anything.
Promised good things. Now let's learn about World War II.
If you don't have one.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I was raised in a school where I didn't learn anything about the American Civil War at all, the American Revolutionary War. I learned nothing about that in Canada. Very, very, very little.
That's wild.
Yeah, that's just because they want to act like their history matters. So
the American Revolutionary War isn't just American history. That's a war history.
That's
a
world
history.
history.
The French history. It's the French Revolution.
Yeah.
Democracy in Europe.
Oh yeah. And of course, America. They sent some soldiers over here. It's one time when the French actually did something right, and then you had people here who were big fans of the French Revolution. You had politicians here who were not fans of the French Revolution. Like the American Revolution, American history changed Earth and is still changing Earth. That's why our biggest export is culture. I didn't learn it in Canada, so I had to come here and learn about these things. And I had a great dad who taught me some of that. But this is just where I see it as an example of you need to we talk about sort of disabusing yourself of these preconceived notions. This idea that homeschooling is, oh my gosh, they'll be ill-prepared. No, in a very, very easy way, just to be clear, they'll be far better prepared for the world than going to public school. I got to tell you, especially in the United States, it just seems like a good 90% of public school is a waste of time. And I'm sorry, with the internet, I don't believe that it's hard to teach a kid long division. No, you can teach them the basics. I mean, most kids learn how to read and write largely if they have good parents. They learn it before they go into school, and it's parents helping them with their homework.
You better get on that.
Yeah, you better get on that. I learned it by doing the alphabet in the back of Hooper Humperdinck, a Dr. Seuss book, which, by the way, taught kids how to be sociopaths.
Hooper Humperdinck?
Yes, Hooper Humperdinck. It's about a kid. You have no idea why, and there's a giant party, and they're talking about everyone they're going to invite, except for Hooper Humperdinck. And every picture is like, I'll invite so-and-so and Betty Booper, but not Hooper Humperdinck. That boy's a party pooper. That's like this little poor kid with dirt in his face. It's like a hand at the door. Like, and I'm sitting there like, what is this? What did Hooper Humperdinck do? And it just looks like he had tattered clothes. And then there's no actual, at the end of the book, I think it ends with like, I kind of think I will invite Hooper Humperdinck. I'm like, how about an apology? Right. This guy's been trying to get into your theme park for the entire book. And then, okay, I guess I won't exile you from the rest of society without any justification whatsoever, even though you seem to have done nothing wrong. So I learned my entire alphabet because at the end of it, there was a roller coaster because all the names went through the ABCs. And I learned my ABCs with my parents in a 3-bedroom apartment. But the whole time I'm going, who's thinking about Hooper Humperdinck? Where does that guy get justice? That's right. It's a broken judicial system. And Dr. Seuss is not without blood on his hands. What happened? We can find
way short,
but we can't help Hooper Humperdinck. You have a long, hard look at
Let me look.
Everyone out there, if you read that book to your kids, we'll talk about it more tomorrow, and I'm going to find that book.
All right. Well, perfect timing here. I can check it now. Ooh. Get some text messages. Whew. What'd you get as a replacement? What kind of phone? Just curious. I don't see the point in getting the S24. I mean, the AI stuff is it's just software. Literally, the next update on my 23 will have that shit. So I just don't see the point in it. It's supposed to have a little bit better heat management because it's got the titanium as well. But, yeah, I can't. But yeah, I went from the 100 times telephoto to a 50 times. I mean, other than a couple of cool moonshots, though, I really don't use it that much. Yeah, I'm just wondering what kind of Android. Is it just like a generic Samsung, or is it a Motorola, or just curious? No judge. Is this guy gonna pass me or not so I can get out? Jeez. With the pit car, latest. Oh yeah, I've seen that. Where they pit the car right into that person crossing the street. Bam. And then they drew up on that person. We watched that car chase with Bao. They thought that because a lot of them started bailing out after that. They thought the person that got hit was one of the people of the car. They ended up drawing up on them. The Asus phones don't have cameras? I haven't even looked at them. Yeah, those get a little thick. This is a funny one.
Were you ever reprimanded in any way for the policies you violated?
I didn't follow any policies.
I love this one.
You said there were accusations about you.
Right, but there was a detective I saw on her computer screen.
Didn't someone see stuff on you?
No, that's a lie. Action of your life.
Hey, Brandon.
To wander free.
All right, we're back. Weird. It's the second time I think I've seen that just the YouTube app disconnect right around there. Weird. It's the second time I think I've seen. All right. Should be able to participate. What exactly is this for again? I was in and out last night when you were discussing it.
We're looking at how there has been a long-term plan to go to war with Iran, and what we're experiencing now are the sort of pieces being laid out. And let me know if you're aware of that. Let me know if you're aware that already battleships have been deployed in the Middle East, and the way battleships, ostensibly to provide support for Israel in their war against Hamas from the Navy, is already an extraordinary move, don't you think? So we'll be looking at this story in some detail. Is this warmongering good for ordinary Americans? Is it good for the people of the world, or is it good for American here in its interest, most likely military industrial complex? Carrying Trump here.
I will do
Carrying Trump here, or any of the people that work for the White House for a while, then go on to get their own shows on MSNBC.
On behalf of this administration, of the American people, obviously, more importantly, we lost those souls.
Why the fuck does this keep doing this? Man, it snows already. As soon as I get into Michigan, look at this shit.
Yeah, have a look at that. Tell me what bit we missed. It's no sound. What's going on for a while.
Okay.
Information that has been resolved. 1 second. I'll be back in a moment. We'll just resolve the issue. It won't take long. No audio, no sound. We're back now. Very good. We're back. Did we know about it before we read about it in the comments, or did it take the comments for us to know? Was there a local indicator of it? Okay. Right, good. So if that happens again, let's make sure we stay on top of it, because I've got some pretty important things to say. Like this: the Pentagon have literally got no evidence that there are any connections between these drone strikes border that have killed 3 U.S.
If you're going to do I'll do a community post on it as well.
Iran. No evidence, no actual evidence, but that's not going to stop billions of dollars being spent. That's not going to stop lives being lost, both Iranian lives. That's not going to stop lives being lost, the lives of American personnel being lost already. 3 are dead. How many more must die before the truth is revealed?
Wow.
A rhetorical question in this instance.
We just literally pulled into a winter wonderland here.
Johnny Depp, Raven Fire, Christian
It's slippery as fuck. Holy shit.
What I will say, our deepest, obviously our deepest condolences go out, and our heartfelt condolences.
We've had enough out of you.
It's coming your way, Dirty.
Iran was behind it. What does that mean? Like, have you seen evidence of?
Can any of you see that there's a little tiny Pentagon on the front of the stage in the corner? Is that the actual Pentagon? I think it's a miracle that it's struck by that vehicle.
Way back. Or directing anything specific to this attack, not just
you moved.
specific.
So that journalist there doing their job and saying, is there any evidence that?
Literally, I tried to get in the game last night. I was 1 minute late because of that stupid pug. I had to strip the whole fucking bed. Fucking pissed on my pillow. Shit was supposed to stop when we got them fixed.
Beyond that, we're doing an intelligence assessment. We don't have, I can't give you today that.
Also, have you texted me on Telegram, or is it a scam? Such a rough 605. No, it will be that text. That is definitely a scam, mate. I'm sorry to tell you. We communicate this way through Rumble. We communicate through these channels. Now, what's astonishing about this is that the Pentagon's press secretary, therefore presumably the Pentagon, are happy to use generalizations when it comes to, we generally know that Iran backed these groups. We generally know. When it comes to generalizations in culture, generalizations around racial discourse or rhetoric, this is obviously something that's unacceptable. But generalizations when it comes to bombing people and ending their lives, generally we assume it's Iran. Generally, it would be economically viable and profitable and expedient to go to war. If generalizations are bad, don't go to war on the basis of a generalization.
We just know that Iran funds these groups like Qatar, Hezbollah, and other groups that have attacked our forces, but I don't have more to share on. As a general matter, yes.
Man, they want to go to war so bad.
Hey, when the legacy media leave their mics live and accidentally let you know what their genuine perspective is on war. By now, you've seen Joy Reid saying that effing war, another effing war. It's interesting, we're talking about the border crisis. We asked you a little bit earlier about the migrant crisis and whether you believe there's an inherent connection between not only globalism generally and migrant crisis, i.e., if there are imperialist projects in foreign nations that destabilize those nations, does that exacerbate migrant crisis? Let's have a look at that. What number is that on, please? The poll and survey results. We asked you that question. Countries are involved in foreign wars, should they expect foreign migrants? But not only that, if they're involved in globalist projects abroad, does that exacerbate the conditions that lead to migrant crisis? And a lot of you, 60% of you on over on YouTube, I think is where we conducted.
Where are we at? This is
believe that is
southeast Michigan. We're in Monroe County, heading for the downtown area of Monroe, but we're cutting through. We're avoiding I-75 because of this shit. And the map was showing me a bunch of spinouts, so I didn't want to get caught up in anything. So we're cutting through the woods, basically.
Take action if Congress is serious about solving the border issue. Starting another fucking war.
I sort of like that because it shows that Joy Reid has a
big fluffy ones too.
Where Joy Reid stands starting another fucking war. That's where it is. Sorry for swearing there on YouTube. Hey, we're going to be available for a few more minutes on YouTube, and you are going to want to stay with us because we're discussing a variety of things. We'll talk a little about Neuralink. We're talking about Marjorie Taylor Greene right next about escalating tensions in the Middle East and whether or not we should be lightly and unconsciously wandering. You'll notice that Marjorie Taylor Greene is often conveyed as a lunatic, as a harpy, as a hysteric, but here she seems to be saying simply, don't go to war lightly. Wars are...
I'd rather have the snow than rain, though. I'll tell you that.
We'll be looking at Nancy Pelosi saying that even Russia.
I'd rather have 30-degree snow than 40-degree rain.
Talking about, I guess we did it earlier this week, when Nancy Pelosi suggested that anti-war protests are Putin propaganda and even Russian funded. CNN, of course, endorsing that view. And Nancy Pelosi has always conveyed and presented as a kind of triumph of progressive politics, i.e. Nancy Pelosi, she's the first female Speaker of the House. I think I saw a hagiographic documentary celebrating the achievements of Nancy Pelosi, and indeed it is an achievement when anybody overcomes the odds to rise to the top in politics, and nowhere are her achievements more evident than in her bank account, where $200 million has been curiously accrued on a $200,000 a year taxpayer salary. Let's have a look at Taylor Greene, regularly vilified, advocating for peace.
What are your thoughts on some of the folks, including Lindsey Graham in the Senate, who, in light of these 3 American service members who died over the weekend, calling for strikes inside of America?
Well, first, I just want to say that my heartfelt prayers are with them and their families. Those 3 servicemen were from Georgia. They are reservists. And so all of Georgia right now is really, really lifting them up in prayer. These are lives that should have never been lost. What I have to say to Lindsey Graham and others that are just madly calling for war is they sound psychotic, absolutely psychotic. War is very serious, and if the president is planning to go to war with Iran, he needs to come to Congress and ask permission, and this is something that Congress has to give approval for.
Astonishing, isn't it really, because the recent bombing of Yemen hasn't gone through Congress. It seems that it's acceptable, normal, to embark on foreign military activity without the backing of the American people or even the legal administrative backing of Congress itself. That is, by its nature, illegal, criminal even. I'm looking at the Rumble chat, I'm looking at you, Cleanse, I'm looking at Poop, Oxygen, I'm looking at you, Despell, and I want to remind you people that we have absolute free speech on Rumble. That is why
that works on the main channel.
Rumble for free speech, and I'll remind you,
CBC,
that whatever your religious affiliations are, you are welcome. And I will remind you,
Coffee Brand
when
Coffee.
the globalists elite see you hating on one another, they know they're winning. They know that's one we can chalk off. That's another one that won't be uniting against.
I think I'm gonna switch. Yeah, make one for just put coffee too, though. So, that's a good idea.
Drown them in your love, drown them in your tolerance, drown them in your peace. Unify against this corruption. We got some fantastic sponsors today. Charlize, a fantastic product that has been helping me enormously. I want to tell you as well that we have got fantastic exclusive content for our Awakened Wonder supporters on Locals. You know, every single week we make an additional exclusive video. You will love it. Now, when you come back from looking at this clip, you're going to be thinking, that man looks a hell of a lot. Oh, it's so beautiful to be sprayed in the face. Grow the hell up. And that is because of Apple stem cells. Let's have a look at this exclusive clip that is from our Awakened Wonder community. Check this out. We make additional videos every week. Imagine, have a quick look at it. Let's have a look at that now. Our exclusive clip. Can you guys...
The idea that populists, new parties of the right across Europe are happy to exploit.
So why is that language
really
being used? I don't think
I love coffee.
All there at the Brandenburg Gate going,
I really love Coffee Brand Coffee.
Amazing.
They have delicious coffees, teas, and cocos.
Exclusively available for our Awakened Wonders. Let's post the link for that in the Rumble chat. Let's post the link for that in the YouTube chat.
I agree, Midwest. It's the best part.
And I'll be telling you about us. Do I look younger? Is it me? Do I look a little younger already? Hey, you guys going to watch me on Tucker a little later? It's a conversation with Tucker on Tucker's show. And also, in a couple of days, we'll be putting our own conversation with Tucker, exclusively up for our Awakened Wonder community. You guys over there will be watching it very soon. Okay, if you're watching us on YouTube, it's time to join us over on Rumble. Start that 30 seconds. We've got loads coming up for you. We've got that funny thing where Trump said, I could walk for 200. We're going to be talking about the Slovakian COVID inquiry. What's amazing about that is it's a proper inquiry. The inquiry that's held in the UK seems to be peculiarly parametered to ensure that no one asks any questions about dual-purpose research, no questions about lab leak origin, no questions about adverse events or excess of deaths or popular uprising against the establishment and total disobedience. So if you're watching on YouTube, click the link. Join us on Rumble now for real news right now. You guys on Rumble, I've got to tell you about us. I've got to tell you about our partners
the butterscotch
at Charlie to tell you that I have never felt younger. Have you ever noticed bananas? Of course you have. They're everywhere. Have you noticed how bananas and peaches?
I use the K-cups mostly.
Just the glance at them can make you vomit.
I mean, I've got my own little K-cup. It don't come out strong enough when they use the ground. They actually mailed me a bag of beans one time by accident. I shot them an email, and they're like, keep that bag, and we'll send you another one.
Can these apple stem cells, they're a secret weapon, not in a weapons of mass destruction way that will be deployed in order to facilitate war, no, but in a way that can help us. These Swiss scientists gave apple stem cells to their customers or to their patients, which
the whole world can see it right now if they want to.
8 of the subjects reported by the morning that they were electrifying. 100% of them woke up slow.
Yeah. Well, so I did. I would just, because they told me to just keep the beans, I went out and got a grinder.
And I mentioned this because our partners today, they don't use toxins. It's a toxic-free luxury skincare line delivered to your door in high vibration or cutting glass. You hear that vibration? You hear that high vibration? They never use plastic. They're fantastic. This is the Charlie's toner. It works with your body chemistry to improve your serotonin levels. As agency as possible, it makes you look younger and feel better. The Charlie's skincare line is 100% toxic-free, wild harvested and made in your country, the United States. And you can get 25% off by going to charlies.beauty and using the promo code BRAND. Support us, support our partners, support your loved ones by going to charlies.beauty right now. We'll post the link in both the description. Go there, get
French press is actually really good. Just messy.
This is where she makes an interesting connection between the bombing of
it ain't that bad if you got a garbage disposal. You can just rinse it down and turn on the garbage disposal. But
again, where we left off. Should I just press play? Will that start where we left off again? Am I doing that? I'm going to do it.
Populist.
So you started where we left off, guys. You play it. How about some organic fruit spices, Russell? Isn't it enough that we have toxin-free people? How far away did we get that one, Jeff?
Fast are you fucking going? This guy's doing fucking 35 miles an hour.
Thank you very much. Double cold results already.
In a 55. It's not even slippery now. It's just wet.
This is Nikki Haley. Let's do the Nikki Haley first. This is her on the news. Is this her on the news, first of all? Or which one's where she's on the news? The 707, the first one. Check out this. This is Nikki Haley on the news calling for the bombing of the leadership of Iran and saying that she will prevent war.
39 degrees. Let's see what it is here. It's 33 here.
That actually means preventing war. But when countries see that you're tough and you're serious, they back off. By nature, they back off. Iran.
He doesn't have his signal on, but I guarantee you he turns left. Go straight. I hope he's actually going straight, but somebody that does 35 and a 55.
Isn't there a little more to international diplomacy than schoolyard tactics? Isn't there? Is Nikki Haley right?
And wet snow. It's not even slippery.
Also, it's helpful when confronting bullies to be funded by radio.
Go straight. Go straight. Go straight. Go straight. All right. I love being wrong for the right reason. Get your Kia out of the way.
I'm not alone in understanding that because people at rally recognise it also. But let's have a look at the end of this little.
This is Piggy.
It's known that. But as long as they smell blood in the water, they're going to keep doing this. Governor Haley, I want to thank you for coming by today. Thanks so much. Go to NikkiHaley.com. We're going to finish this. It's great.
The hell's that? Oh, salt truck.
I'm starting to wonder if anyone at Nikki Haley rallies actually wants to be there. She's getting voted.
Just not dropping any salt. That's cool.
Democrats that primarily voted for in the New Hampshire primary. Whenever I see a clip from one of her speeches.
Oh yeah, Monroe is crazy, ain't it? That main exit there. Hey, since you were here last year, there is at least 5 more at that exit. That whole outlet mall keeps adding them. Oh shit.
None of us want new wars. None of us want new wars.
Yeah, it's still there. Guy didn't have no lights on behind me, so that's the one that should be catching some flag.
Now, all of us, thanks to independent media like this, I'm familiar with this terminology. Thanks to that, people just stand up in the middle of Nikki UK rallies fully informed. It's in some part due to Vivek Ramaswamy's interesting rhetoric that she is funded in that peculiar way. And we're armed with the facts, we've become viable opponents, would you say? Let's have a look at how this unfolds. Right, free speech, everyone, free speech. Don't you always feel a little pang of humanity when you see that? Kennedy warned us about the military-industrial complex was killed 2 weeks later, says Glenn's in the Rumble chat. Good point, Rumble chat. A lot of love for the radio hit, Tanaka Ellison tagging his name. Too funny, all of a sudden Biden doesn't have a pen. They only have I missed that one. It's a good comment. Guys, there's some fantastic chat going, right? Chat.
Yeah, Taco Bell.
Through the Rumble stream. Good work.
And a 7-Eleven. There used to be a McDonald's and a Burger King at that exit too, but they've turned the buildings into dispensaries. That's the first time I've seen them close the McDonald's. This guy wants to pass me so bad. I'm going way over. I'm doing 4 over in this weather, and he's on my bumper.
Love how he's advocated for free speech. Many of you love the way that X has been reclaimed as a platform that people can communicate on. Though people say that there are interesting new observationary methods and techniques being deployed there. Personally, I am pro Elon. I think he's good in the world, and I think it'll be a weird day when you find a person who 100% agree with on every single subject. How do you lot feel about Neuralink? How do you feel about the transhumanism project? Of course, what Elon says is this will ultimately be useful for people that have experienced paralysis, and it's easy to see how in many instances technology is valuable. Let's see how the Lexi Media reports on this story.
The tech billionaire Elon Musk is saying his Neuralink company has successfully implanted one of its wireless brain chips in a human for the first time. He made the announcement on X, his social media platform, saying the procedure happened on Sunday. He says the subject is recovering well and that initial results show a promising neuron spike detection. Mr. Musk says the product has been given the name telepathy, and the plan is for it to enable control of a phone, computer, or almost any linked device just by thinking about them. Several rival companies have already implanted as brain-computer interface systems in humans after tests were carried out initially on monkeys.
If you would have it in, press 1. If you wouldn't, press 2. Paul the Street says Elon will be the new Oppenheimer. What an amazing reference. Because if you see that movie, Oppenheimer was a genius who was ideologically motivated, polymath and brilliant man who made choices that we are still debating to this day. There are still people that say it's necessary to bomb Nagasaki and Hiroshima because it ended up more quickly. Yet there are other people who say, well, no, that was a catastrophe in a sense. Beginning a type of imperialism from that perhaps preempted or facilitated the ending of the American people being represented by the government. It's an interesting moment in history, great reference.
Now, there's a reason why we didn't drop the bomb on Tokyo, because Tokyo was already in ashes. We did not have to drop those bombs.
Doubtful, but yes, genius.
Good test, though.
With more, here's our North America correspondent, Peter Bowes.
What Elon Musk's Neuralink is trying to do is what a number of other companies have been attempting for quite a while now.
So we had already firebombed the hell out of Tokyo.
A brain-computer interface that will allow a human being to carry out an action through thought alone.
It's interesting to imagine what people are able to that responsibility. There's a level of ingenuity that's difficult to conduct. I would love to. This is why I want Elon Musk on, so we can have these kind of conversations directly with him. But I suppose when you see the over-technologization of our culture and where it's generally led, I suppose it's that famous adage that a tool can be used for good or
How
for
close?
ill. The problem has been, I feel like since the industrial age, it may be since the advent of agriculture itself, these systems of control have generally created elites, always backed by the promise that it would be beneficial somehow to the population at large, or in particular the vulnerable. Let's just take a sort of a pretty emphatic example, and again I wish we had the opportunity to talk to Elon Musk about this directly, like white goods, the washing machine, the dishwasher. This will mean you have more time for pursuing leisure activities, but that's not what happens, is it? Not pursuing leisure activities. We're caught in a constant cycle of consuming. We're no longer citizens, we're no longer engaged by nature or connected to nature. How seldom we are sent a hand-woven bath mat by a beloved member of our community like Susan Brubeck from Martinsville. We are all locked into cycles of dependency, and it's
I believe you've actually lost it.
The exploitation.
It's always good to have a backup channel too, but
who would be controlling it? So many things to ponder. What makes me feel a lot more optimistic is the rise of the farmer protests, people coming together, people unified in a common cause together. What terrifies me is the emergence of these new agencies that provide the cartilage between private corporations and governments, in particular because I have been a victim of these new, and no, I don't use the word victim, I've been subject to some of their machinations. Certainly we've been being observed by an organisation called Logically AI. In today's deep dive, we look at Logically AI and a number of other organisations that are operating on behalf of governments.
They'll never stop doing it until we force them to stop doing it, though.
Censorship that was extraordinary and unprecedented. You know that, right? Now, these public partnerships are about suppressing dissenting voices, Jay Bhattacharya, my voice, and these public-private partnerships are now being used to observe the forthcoming elections in your country, and the Pentagon is using these Logically AI techniques to presumably shut down dissent, maybe control the conversation around the election. Certainly, these organizations were deeply exploitative during the pandemic period, shutting down free speech, controlling conversations, and even creating bots that can instantaneously respond. There may even be bots right now in this channel responding to our content. It's tinfoil hat time, except there are evidence and receipts. It's based on the great reporting of Lee Fang, which is following on Substack. If you can, here's the news. No, here's the evidence. By now you know what the censorship in the complex is. It's government crushing dissent by proxy on a variety of issues like January 6th, the pandemic, dissent against war, trucker protests. All of these issues have been controlled by public-private partnerships where the governments crush dissent. And if that wasn't enough, they're starting to do that stuff against me, as well as putting these agencies in place for forthcoming elections and controlling Pentagon data. But it's me I'm really talking about. It's going global. Farmers, truckers, everywhere. People are rejecting centralized authority. People no longer trust the media, and with good reason, because there are numerous agencies that are being deployed to crush dissent when it comes to important issues like, well, public protests for one thing, dissent against war for another, the whole handling of the pandemic, and we've got vital information based on the reporting of Lee Fang. You should follow him on Substack, who has exposed the involvement of numerous agencies when it comes to shutting down dissent. One in particular, called Logically, has been particularly vociferous and aggressive against me. We're going to look at who they've been controlling this year, and we're also going to look at how the legacy media and mainstream benefit from being able to control narratives, and how it is their job to normalize and amplify the agenda of the powerful. So remember, support our content if you can. There's a link in the description, and we need your support now more than ever. This is nothing short of a war for freedom. Not the kind of war that your governments are advocating for, of course, where they're talking about introducing conscription in actual European countries now, literally like this one, but intellectual freedom, spiritual freedom, personal sovereignty. That's why it's so interesting to see someone like Barack Obama, an elder statesman of the establishment now, someone who swept into power under words like change and hope, but governed from a position of total control, bailing out the bankers, giving BlackRock unprecedented power. Check it out and look into it when it came to that financial crash. There's not Barack Obama now talking about misinformation and disinformation. It's astonishing the way that he inverts truth. We've got to shut down independent media. They muddy the water on important issues. But who really muddies the water? Who really obfuscates facts and truth? Who really benefits from controlling your attention and private personal consciousness? Plainly, it's the establishment. Let's get into it.
Understand, it's not necessary for people to believe.
Listen to this asshole.
In order to weaken democratic institutions.
So he's saying that misinformation is dangerous even if you don't believe it. That's to stop you saying, well, I'm able to watch content myself and decide for myself whether or not I think something's true. If I see something that's plainly ludicrous, some outlandish theory, I'm able to discern and decide using my intellect, my relationships, my understanding whether it's true. Barack Obama is saying, no, it isn't. You are not able to make that decision. That's authoritarian. He stands there at Stanford University, ironically, one of the institutions who suffered greatly during the pandemic. For example, Jay Bhattacharya works out at Stanford University, had much of his information, notably the famous Barrington Declaration, shut down by the very government that Barack Obama is standing there advocating for right now.
You just have to flood a country's public square with enough raw sewage.
Angry bearded cockroach.
Used incendiary language and evocative imagery like free speech being compared to raw sewage. Liberals would say, oh my God, I can't believe that Donald Trump compared free speech to raw sewage. But there's Barack Obama doing it, but he's at Stanford and he's, got a documentary on Netflix, so it's all cool.
You just have to raise enough questions, spread enough dirt, plant enough conspiracy theorizing.
Conspiracy theories like, for example, the virus emerged from a laboratory. It's possibly the result of bioweapon research, that lockdowns may not have been effective, that NATO may have participated in the escalation of the conflict between Ukraine and Russia by allowing Ukraine to join or flirting with Ukraine and inviting them to join. But the Nord Stream pipeline was not blown up by Russia, but by NATO interests. All of these conspiracy theories are, as you know by now, let me know in the true. And that doesn't mean that there's not a Wikipedia pop-up or some warning pop-up under there.
I'll try and get the desktop going. We'll see. I got a few people that are supposed to be there, so we'll see if they show up.
From you being dozy, sleepy, slumbering, and tuned out, and that's how they want to maintain you.
That citizens no longer know what to believe.
Peace.
Once they lose trust.
Thanks for riding with me. Love you guys.
Mainstream media, in political institutions.
You're just listing this stuff, but of course we've lost trust in our leaders. Barack Obama